Hello friends, today's episode will be solely my opinion on the whole Ellen Degeneres saga that has surfaced over the past few months, where allegations of her workplace being toxic has been echoing throughout the internet. In order to try my best to share my own perspective, this will probably be the most I've read since I came out from my mother's womb, and there's a lot to cover. It has been alleged that the Be Kind mantra that Ellen has always supported and propounded was nothing but a mere ruse to fabricate this charming and compassionate persona her show is built upon. It is important to note that Be Kind is a very important rule in life because showing compassion is the only way you can get on Ellen's show. Otherwise, you might be featured on Dr. Phil's instead and have to explain to the world why it's not okay to cheat on two of your wives while your parents frantically hide their emotions and faces in front of national TV. These allegations are affronts to her image and question the true intentions behind her onstage persona. Realistically, no one is exactly the same when they are on-screen and off-screen. Even for nobody like myself, when I consume noodles alone, sauces tend to ricochet off my mouth and I wouldn't mind a little ketchup art piece on my plain, boring t-shirt. But when I'm outside, I tend to reserve my saucy endeavours to my own place of choice. Wait, that doesn't sound right. The point I'm trying to make is everyone has different sides to them and they definitely differ when they are on screen and off screen. Like, let's be real, you're not really drinking your cafe latte while writing a novel like what your Instagram suggests. The foundation of a show contains the core message of being kind to everyone, and it is the hypocrisy that people are reacting towards. For example, if the old Justin Bieber punched two paparazzis in the face, it would just be a typical Sunday. Vile acts should never coincide with the pure-hearted nature of Ellen, but then again neither should Bill Cosby. The recent apology video Ellen made was towards the allegations of her workplace, a place of kindness now transitioning into a place of apology, just like how a waiter would react after making a mistake. As ironic as it seems, with respect to the image of Ellen's show, it really humanizes the experience of all workplaces. Even the seemingly kindest of workplace has its own inadequacies. All these allegations arose due to one of BuzzFeed's trending posts, where it interviews some of the ex-employees and one current employee of the workplace, discussing their experiences working there. None of them wants to reveal their true identity like Batman, in fear of the ramifications of being a snitch, and it is clear that loyalty within the industry is as rigid and firm as a rubber band. One of the claims according to BuzzFeed News was that the employees said that they were fired after taking leaves which included medical and bereavement leave. Because clearly health and death is a choice, playing devil's advocate, I can see why a big corporation may need to furlough employees who don't make the cut. In a corporate context, one worker is literally just one worker, a statistical number housed under a large umbrella. As sad as it seems, it is the harsh reality that in the eyes of an entire world entity, you are not Jack or Ashley, you are just a phone number. Imagine in history class, instead of mentioning how many people participated in industrialization, you are required to quote millions of names and bond with those individuals you listed out in your essay and memorize each individual's family tree. However, that being said, it does not absolve the Ellen Show from any responsibilities if the allegations were indeed true. They could have handled the situation way better by showing a bit of empathy towards their employees during a calamitous period of their lives. Certain things are beyond everyone's control, such as life and death. This isn't Clash Royale where you can summon an army at will through a tap on your phone. Therefore, it isn't that hard to give some people a few days of leave just to actually settle some parts of their lives. There were people who claimed that there were instructions from their superiors to not talk to Ellen if they saw her. Totally the same friendly person I see on those YouTube clips. The only be kind part of this seems to be kind of disappointing. Being placed in such a high position of power can make someone out of touch from those working for them, which is why I'll never be out of touch with anyone. However, direct superiors telling their employees not to talk to Ellen when they see her must stem from precedents for them to produce such a specific instruction. Maybe she's not the happy person she purports to be on social media, and there's nothing wrong with that because, after all, she is human and everyone has their different sides. The you at home is definitely different from the you in front of your crush, and the you in front of your boss should definitely not be the same you in front of your significant other. Unless... At the end of the day, after achieving this level of fame, I presume it would be difficult to cater time for every single person you meet, especially when you are known for giving free things. To be fair, this is Ellen's own employees projecting their own personal thoughts onto her and deciding for her to be aloof when in reality no one knows the wishes of Ellen behind cameras. According to most former employees, most of the issues within the workplace lie with the higher management and not Ellen, but they feel that she has to take responsibility because after all, the name of the show is The Ellen Degeneres Show, without an apostrophe. a stylistic choice that no one questioned for 17 years. The logic behind the argument is that if the show's appellation consists of her name, then it is her responsibility to ensure that the workplace is a conducive environment for her people to work in and not be oblivious to the things happening around her. One former employee surmises that Ellen is kept from the truth behind the scenes because those around her tell her that things are perfect. However, in my opinion, it is unfair to blame the existing managerial problems solely on her when the issues surrounding the workplace is congregated by more than one specific individual. Even the executive producers who spoke to BuzzFeed and mentioned that they take these allegations seriously, which to be fair is the only response they can realistically give. Imagine if they said that these allegations will be taken with a pinch of salt. I highly doubt they will still have their job. The next backlash Ellen Degeneres received from her production crew was mainly due to their poor communication during the time of pandemic with regard to their pay hours and inquiries about their mental and physical health. These are fair concerns arising from the employees of the show because no one is willing to work for free. Otherwise, who is going to pay for the Oreo cookies in the cupboard? The show then made a power play by actually hiring a non-union tech company to continue filming the Ellen show, even though her crew had the exact same skill set required to do the exact same work. If the crew didn't know how to film a set, then the hiring process should be investigated more than the treatment of staff. Hence, the act of hiring an outside company to aid you in filming your set in the comfort of your own home may not be the smartest of choice. Firstly, it shows that you don't trust the family you endear immensely to even come to your house for a video shoot. Secondly, it can be interpreted as you don't trust the skill set of your own crew members who have been filming for you during the pre-pandemic days. Lastly, hiring a non-union tech is implicitly telling people that you are flouting the regulations of a union. I mean, none of these are her intentions, but I'm just pointing out how her actions can be perceived that way. Despite all these recent allegations, Ellen had been receiving a lot of criticism of her own personality prior. Based on some people's past interactions with her, the most renowned story was a YouTuber who goes by Nikki Tutorials' encounter with Ellen. Apparently, during her time, Ellen wasn't the most enchanting, as mentioned in her interview in a separate talk show, where she basically spilled all the beans about what happened that day. However, I do have to caution that her entire experience at Ellen's was mostly negative. She would be an extremely good Yelp reviewer, in my honest opinion. There are two issues Nikki had with the show. The biggest issue was the toilet usage, hence I'll tackle this situation first. Nikki claimed that she wasn't treated on par with the other celebrity guests. I would totally interact with a person I met 5 minutes ago the exact same way I interact with someone I've known for 5 years. Yes, Samantha, the exit in front is made specially for you, and no, that is not a train track laid in front of the exit. This is the type of entitlement that irks me because she didn't say that she wasn't treated with respect, but compared to her treatment with other celebrities. Based on what I have seen online, I don't think that this opinion of mine will be very popular, but I just want to mention that the statement from Nikki, which probably comes from a place of indignance, manifested into something more insidious. Her point was that every one of Ellen's guests had a private toilet and she didn't. I really don't understand why Nikki had to make such a comparison because the other guests were probably recurrent guests and it could be Ellen's form of gratitude to show this speciality of a treatment to them. Furthermore, she follows up her complaints comparing her views in relation to the Jonas Brothers, who happen to have a toilet of their own at the show, and she self-validates her toilet worth using views. By that logic, my account has a negative value based on a single digit worth of views I've garnered over the past few months. Oh wait, maybe it does. My point is, even though she did not receive the expected grand treatment she hoped for, she should not have put this whole situation on blast after she was kindly invited onto the show by Ellen. That's the same as me being invited to a party and was upset that I didn't get drunk because alcoholic drinks were only for adults, even though theoretically I am an adult. At the end of the day, I will still be grateful that I was at least on the guest list, even if it was for tax purposes. However, to be fair, I don't know how the exchange went during her request to use the Jonas Brothers' toilet. For all I know, they could have told her that it would be faster if she drank her own urine, right? Hence, my overall verdict is that there's a lack of information for me to make an impeccable judgment for this case. The second issue that Nikki was upset about was that she was greeted by an unhappy, slightly overworked intern instead of confetti. A collision between the dichotomy of reality and expectation, creating an unfortunate disappointment for Nikki. That's actually very relatable when I hoped for a Must Rider belt for my birthday but instead received a "Be thankful that you're alive" card. Reality can be harsh and I guess that's the sad truth in any industry. An inevitable sense of disappointment may overwhelm, but I do not blame Nikki for feeling this way. In an interview, she claims that Ellen did not even greet her backstage, which is very impertinent in my opinion because you invited a guest to your place but did not give them the minimum courtesy of basically being alive, which my parents definitely reminded me with that card. I guess the overall vibe Ellen exuded did not match her onstage persona, as Nikki felt that Ellen was cold and distant. The two adjectives used to describe Mount Everest, and hence, with logical reasoning, we can conclude that Ellen is a mountain. During this time, others started to speak about their terrible interactions with Ellen, but due to the fact that these interactions were tweeted and their validity cannot be verified by a reliable source, I shall take those stories lightly. I mean, anyone can type anything on the internet. Do you know how many times I've been accused of being a monkey by fellow gamers? And by that logic, I should be a primate with a vacuous mind and a lack of linguistic abilities, which undoubtedly is partially true. The final issue with Ellen was the controversial video released 3 years ago that got a lot of heat. She wanted to test the honesty of audience by setting up a store filled with her own merchandise and only allowing each audience member to pick up one item of their choice. Obviously, there would be a person who happened to pick more than one item and was caught on Ellen's camera, and it was a lady. She put this individual on blast and asked her to sit in her self-made Ellen jail as a punishment. Similar to a jail but with a sprinkle of humiliation. Even an actual convict doesn't get their dignity decimated in front of millions of viewers because most people don't read the news. Some even get to plead for better prison facilities. The person who essentially stole Ellen's product was definitely in the wrong, but the humiliation she received in front of the live audience must have been detrimental to her self-esteem. I mean, Ellen masked the whole incident behind chuckles, but placing ourselves in the lady's shoes, it must have been so uncomfortable as she frantically came up with an excuse. Clearly her excuse wasn't the best, as she said that the extra item was for her sister, who couldn't make it, when she could have just admitted to her mistake. If I was her, I would have just started with a confession and started apologizing to every single person in the room, deviating from the script Ellen set up, then start distributing the items to every audience member like Robin Hood before ending my 2020 presidential campaign speech. The issue with the incident was the intent of Ellen, where she created this whole setup and knew that an audience member would take more than one item and was ready to humiliate them in front of the entire audience. It wasn't a spontaneous act but a premeditated and calculated move on her behalf, ready to ridicule the audience that built her up, and that was what made me uncomfortable. She hides behind benign laughters, but I'm unsure of the cognitive algorithm that resides within her. Therefore, my overall verdict for this incident is against Ellen's judgment. The last incident I'll be discussing is Ellen comparing her mansion to jail. She mentioned that her quarantine at home was like being in jail because, and I quote, "It's mostly because I've been wearing the same clothes for 10 days and everyone here is gay." People are upset at this joke because it's deemed insensitive in this current climate, where the incarceration of inmates are confined within the same premise and could be petri dishes of infection. People whose loved ones are serving their sentence are concerned about their well-being and are offended by the insensitive remark made by Ellen. I definitely feel that it is well within their right to be upset by her comments, and I could empathize with their feelings of uncertainty and concern. However, the joke Ellen made was structured around the stereotypes revolving around prisons pre-coronavirus days, and through a simple analogy, it was supposed to bring about a chuckle without any further meaning behind the joke. If people are offended by jokes that use exaggerated simile to bring across a point, then Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis, which literally revolves the protagonist being a vermin, is then ruined because in every household, there are bound to be vermins living comfortably around. Therefore, are millions of people going to be upset for the vermins living in their residency because Kafka's story wasn't really at Vermin's best interest? The intent of her joke was to mention how bored and insufferable she felt during the quarantine, which is the same for most inmates, I would presume, otherwise it wouldn't exactly be prison. Theoretically, her joke managed to express how unbearable it is to stay at home in an extremely extensive measure, because the reality is that she stays in a mansion and a big house doesn't exactly have the same amount of square feet as a cell. Therefore, I feel that people overreacted with this joke. Overall, there are other issues that happened where she was seen hanging out with George Bush after she mentioned that she did not align her beliefs with him, and yet she started hanging out with him. But that's a story for another day because I've mentioned so much and it's time for me to take a break. Ellen Degeneres recently apologized for her work environment being a place fested with toxicity and hopes to make a change, which is literally the only way to make things better, because stagnating definitely isn't a solution. After some internal investigations, it was found that there are certain deficiencies in their day-to-day management, which coincidentally is what my dentist told me the other day. She didn't apologize for the personal accusations, but only responded to the workplace toxicities that has been fostered under her charge. And I believe that she felt that things have changed after many years, and that she wanted a good experience for all her workers, and a place of happiness is what she hoped to describe her work environment. But obviously something went awry over the years, right? I'm not blaming her because people tend to let loose and become oblivious when things become routine and habitual, and all these slight deviations and mild changes, you might be oblivious to them because you're so focused on the work. I hope that maybe the environment change and she becomes a better person and be the exact same person that she propounds people to be. As an exponent of kindness, I hope that she'll be able to change things within the show and herself and become a better person. Yeah. Hope to see you guys next week. Bye bye.